Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, another music challenge. I haven't done a music challenge in a while, and this is one that I've been thinking about, and I thought it would be fun to sort of put it out there. I'm going to put a timeline on this of about roughly a week for this particular challenge. If you would like to participate, feel free to join in. And for this challenge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 5 bands, and I'm just going to listen to those 5 bands for 1 week. What made me think of this challenge was, and I've talked about this here on the channel, about when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of music. You know, I listened to stuff on the radio, I would tape stuff off of college radio, but limited funds, limited abilities to get to the record store. I lived in a pretty rural area. So I had a small amount of stuff, and really only so many bands did I listen to intently, you know. And I've talked about my big 6, my original 6 bands: Maiden, Priest, Dio, Sabbath, Ozzy, and AC/DC. I listened to them a ton, and I thought it would be fun to sort of revisit that a little bit and to pick 5 bands and just listen to those 5 bands for a week. So all these bands, I picked them for a reason. All right, my first 2 bands are Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. I've been on kind of a 90s grunge kick lately, and I want to revisit those records, and I want to listen to the albums that I'm not as familiar with from their catalogs. For instance, Alice in Chains, like their most recent album, I want to listen to that. Soundgarden, the last album they did with Chris Cornell, I want to listen to that. And some of the early Soundgarden stuff I'm not as familiar with. You know, I really know really well, like Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown and, you know, that stuff. But the early stuff and the last album with Chris Cornell, I want to listen to that. So that's why I pick Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. Number 3 is Yes. There's some albums in their catalog that I am not as familiar with. I mentioned in my New Year's resolution video, I want to explore more bands that I like, but the albums that I sort of missed, like stuff from like the 90s or maybe the 2000s. So I want to do that with Yes. Also, I'm preparing a ranking a Yes video where I'm going to rank the early John Anderson albums. The next one is Uriah Heep for the same reason. They've got a huge catalog, and I especially want to familiarize myself more with the most recent Uriah Heep albums, like the last 4 or 5 albums that they put out. So I'm putting Uriah Heep on that list. And the last one is Budgie. Budgie is a band that I really only have like 3 or 4 of their albums on vinyl. I have a couple on CD, and their stuff isn't really on streaming. There's only like a few albums on streaming. So between the CDs that I have and the vinyl, I think I've got like 8 or 9 Budgie albums. And they're a band that I've always liked. I love In For The Kill. I did a video on that. But they're a band that I thought it would be fun to explore them more. I haven't dug into them in a while. So, all right, there you go. There's my music challenge. I'm going to listen to 5 bands. Only those 5 bands for a week. We'll see how it goes. I also wanted to pick enough variety here so that if I get a little tired of the grunge stuff, I can go to something progressive like Yes, or I can go to some old heavy 70s like Budgie. So all right, so let me know if you want to do this challenge. It doesn't have to be 5 bands. It could be 10 bands. It could be 3 bands, however you want to do it. Let me know if you want to participate down below, and let me know the bands that you're going to pick for the challenge, and I'll check back in at some point, and we'll see how the challenge went, okay? All right, until we see you again, make sure you rock hard, ride free.